Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Esoteric. I got a fun and exciting episode for you guys this evening because we're taking a look at the recently released prototype for Dancing Eyes. This is a remake of a PlayStation 1 based arcade board game, and it was supposed to come out in 2011, but it was quietly cancelled after being shown off. But just recently a dev kit was found with a full working build basically done on the hard drive, so now you can play it today. And this is definitely some thirst trap gaming at its finest. Feels a little bit like Dead or Alive Beach Volleyball, except as a puzzle game. And I know that doesn't make much sense. If you're not familiar with Dancing Eyes, you'll understand it very shortly. It is 100% a vibe. It's 100% a type of game that you're either going to be completely interested in or not at all. But from a preservation standpoint alone, you know I'm going to cover this because I love when prototypes get dumped. I'm always advocating for games being saved, and from something like this, a game that was supposed to exist and never did, it is now available for anyone to play anytime they want. It has been rescued from oblivion, and instantaneously you're going to know exactly what the gameplay concept is here. Think Snake as well as some sort of blockout game, and the entire point of the game is to create squares around their actual model so that those panels are removed. That is the entirety of something like Dancing Eyes, and maybe I can understand in 2011 maybe why Bandai Namco was a little bit reticent to actually release this. Now I don't really have any problem with it whatsoever. If this does it for you, totally fine with me. It really feels pretty tame, and it's pretty hilarious that you're just a very small monkey running around a human being's body. Kind of has some Mr. Mosquito vibes as well in that respect, and that's definitely a genre. You'll see these machines and bars all the time now, just sitting there, the panel puzzle games, but this is basically where that concept kind of came from Namco in arcades back in the day. And you'll even get this Mappy shirt here, or now it is missing. There's definitely some callbacks to other Namco arcade games from history, which is always a fun time just to see. But basically this is exactly what Dancing Eyes is right here. Run around as a monkey, remove panels, and suddenly you will see exactly what you see on the screen. And hey, if that's your cup of tea, drink up Thirsty Gamer, because that's exactly what something like Dancing Eyes provides. And then there is another minigame at the end where you have to use what looks like this probably jiggles around a lot wand to destroy all the enemies that have been trying to kill you throughout the actual puzzle game. You'll see here if you're successful you get finished and you're going to get your score tallied up. And again, as a puzzle game with timing and different combos, the score complexity here is quite deep, and you can definitely run both high speed challenges as well as high score challenges on these individual levels. But of course at the end you get showtime, and I'm sure you can guess exactly what that is. You get to take a look at the ability for the PlayStation 3 to push polygons to make the human figure look about as good as it can. But I would say those eyes there, maybe not exactly what a normal human being would look like. You're going to have so many different models in this game, so many different levels, so many different costumes, so much different ridiculousness, and this is the entirety of something like Dancing Eyes. And I'm surprised that this didn't come out because it feels tame enough to honestly not be that big of a deal. You have stuff like Dead or Alive Beach Volleyball, tons of different games in this era had much more content in this respect than Dancing Eyes does, but it's one of those things. Maybe it just didn't location test well, maybe QA said it wasn't really working well, although it seems to be fine here. Maybe marketing just didn't want to market this game, but there is an amazing ad which I'll show you in just a moment. But there's going to be like a dozen different characters in the game that you can run around on as the monkey. There's going to be easy levels, hard levels. You'll see there we just got a speed up bonus. It's basically just arcade gaming perfection, except on the PlayStation 3 in 2011. This was supposed to have move controls as well, but this is being played just with a controller, and it's a great thing for preservation because when people do buy dev kits out there, sometimes they find builds of games that we already have, but every once in a while you find a build of a game that never actually saw release at retail. This version of Dancing Eyes was known about, but it was lost to time until preservation efforts basically kept it alive for everyone. And that is 100% something that absolutely does it for me as far as retro gaming is concerned. And yes, I do think the PlayStation 3 is retro. If it's old enough to drive, it's old enough to be retro in my opinion, but leave me a comment down below and you tell me, PlayStation 3 retro or not. And here is the ad that was supposed to run when the game released. It's absolutely hilarious and weird. I love it. It's a vibe just like the game is, so go ahead and watch, and I'll be right back with more.
きっとフルーツじゃ楽しくないよね。 女の子の服を囲って消していくパズルアクション。女体に去る、ちょっと怪しめ。ダンシングアイ。
I mean, that's a chaotically funny ad, and honestly, I absolutely love the styling of it. It's got that Adult Swim vibe, long before Adult Swim was really synonymous with everyone's public consciousness, and it's the type of thing that if I had my druthers, I would just make work like that all day long as a filmmaker. I wish someone would pay me to make those kind of ads, and not the kind of ads I end up getting hired for, because they're not anywhere near as entertaining. And I will leave the name of the person that dumped this down below. I have absolutely no idea how to pronounce it, and as opposed to screwing it up and kind of maybe insulting them, you can go ahead and read it below. But again, this is another piece of gaming history now saved and preserved for all time for anyone to play, and that's just something that I absolutely love and can't get enough of. You know, I always talk about on the channel gaming preservation, and the fact that dumping something and sharing it with everyone is way more fun than keeping it to yourself. And so many of these dev kits and so many of these prototypes are just sitting locked away in somebody's closet. They get to talk about having the game, but no one else ever gets to see it, and I'm pretty sure plenty of people would want to see this right here. Although honestly, if I am getting a surgery done, maybe not the room I want to do it in. Maybe the focus of the surgery would not be on the scalpel, but something completely different. But all jokes aside, you kind of have to poke a little bit of fun at Dancing Eyes, because it is just the type of game that 100% wears its inspiration on its sleeve. It knows what it wants to be, and it wants you to know exactly what it's offering. And this game is so complete, it even has credits. It's basically a completely finished version of the game, probably just for testing. This obviously got canceled at the last possible minute because there was ads out there for the game. Obviously they made that monkey trailer I just showed you, and the game is playable from start to finish with all of the levels, all of the costumes, and everything else. I checked with a few people who've been playing this for a couple hours now, and they haven't run into any issues whatsoever. You'll see here you can select the level, you can select the arena, and once you actually get further into the game, you can select different costumes as well. So you can kind of just play around with different puzzles, and every costume is going to have a slightly different puzzle, because that really is the core mechanic of the game. You have to figure out the quickest route throughout these squares and be able to actually make panels so you can remove those swatches of clothing. And you see the little animals there, the squirrel and the mouse running around. You need to avoid them. If you touch them, you're going to lose a life. If you lose too many lives, it's going to be game over. And definitely looks a little bit like I from Monkey Ball as well. But this game is just kind of a weird experience. There's no two ways around it. It definitely just wants to be a little bit thirsty while at the same time giving you a really fun arcade gaming experience. And this was part of their revamp for Namco to bring some arcade games to a more modern audience, because I'm pretty sure Dancing Eyes, when they initially released it back in the day, did really good sales for them. You'll see there, the bigger the panel you get, the higher that score is going to go up. It really is a scoring game and also a time game, because you want to complete the puzzles as fast as possible with the biggest combos possible to maximize your score. It's the type of thing you could totally get deep into this game, trying to route every single line and every single movement of the enemies on screen to try to do the best possible score you can get. Because you'll see there, massive chunk of panel taken off, and now suddenly her entire back is going to be missing. Well, not technically missing, just the t-shirt portion of it. But I am going to give you a soundtrack sample. It is decent music and nothing to write home about, but it makes sense in the context of the game. You'll get to hear exactly what happens when panels are removed. But enjoy. I did shift the audio ever so slightly, so when the panels are removed, her audible sound effect, that moan there when they are removed, didn't quite match up to the visuals, just to keep the AI in the background happy. And we have our magic wand here again. Of course, you know exactly what that is, and we now need to destroy those little animals on her body. We have to find the mouse, and we have to find the squirrel, and we have to pop them so that we can actually get to showtime. And it's funny that this is an entire arena, basically saying that like 30,000 people are watching you, this tiny monkey, do your job to make sure everyone gets a show. know. There's a lot of intent behind this. There's a lot of different mixed signals to read, and of course it is showtime. So whether or not Dancing Eyes is for you or not is totally up to you, and if it is, no judgments there whatsoever. But from a pure preservation standpoint, getting a lost game from PlayStation 3 found on a dev kit, dumped and made playable in RPCS3 is absolutely just something that I love to see. I love video game preservation, I love weird janky games, and I love Dancing Eyes just because it is so strange. But we're done, I'll see you next time. Bye bye.